I'm very pleased to be here in Morocco. This is my first day in Morocco, but I have always been looking forward to see Morocco because there's a couple of reasons. I have heard so many nice things about Morocco. I have met lots of Moroccan in London, in Middle East, and they tend to be all very nice people. So I was very looking forward to see this nice country, and I think it is a nice country. I'm sure anyone who is not from Morocco, you would have felt the same I felt. I would like to congratulate the organizers for putting together such excellent workshop. And I have to say, I've been involved in 17 years organizing conferences. It's very difficult. But what I have seen here from yesterday and today, I think it's a first class organization of the conference from all types of things. The papers, the presentation. What are والله ما So I talk next to this one. Okay, I'm really sorry. Okay, I lost 1 minute and a half. Is it okay now?
Slowly.
Is it okay now?
They say slowly.
But now it's okay? They can hear me?
Yes.
But they can hear me? Okay. طيب السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. I will speak very slowly, but the time is running already. So either give me time or let me talk. But anyway, I congratulate you. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's my pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for being here. I will go quickly. I have been asked to talk about international collaboration, and I'm sure you all agree this is a very complicated issue because it involves international relations. Even the paper we publish about international collaboration on the science and technology in the European Union, we publish it in the International Journal of Politics and International Relations. So you can see it's not about science and technology, but it's about international relations. That's one thing. I come from Sussex, but as you can see here, I do work in several of these organizations. I would like you to explore them. I wouldn't take time now, but they are here. This is the World Association for Sustainable Development, created in 2000. And we look at sustainable development from a multidisciplinary approach. And we have been very successful. I would like to invite you all to our next conference in Geneva in 2010. Next year on the 10th of April. So let me go back to my presentation. I'm talking too fast?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I always have problem with the translator. Okay. In Sudan, they told me I can't. My colleague said to me I can't understand the translation because you speak very fast. Okay. Now I will look into 3 issues here. One of them is the challenges and the opportunities and lessons learned, because I think this is what I'm trying to do. So I will look to them from. Where's my presentation here? So we'll go through the challenges, opportunities, and the lessons learned. The challenges, I will go through global issues because Morocco or the Arab countries or Africa is part of the global network, so we have to look to the global challenges. And I will also look into opportunities from African perspective or Middle Eastern perspective, and lessons learned again from a global perspective and African. So this is what I will be trying to cover in this next 15 minutes. Now, I will look through the lessons learned from the European. Albert was the chair of the committee. I'm going to use some of the slides here, and I will give some policy indications. I'm not going to talk about the data, but we talked yesterday about the importance of having data in order to analyze anything we do in this room yesterday and today. The problem when it comes to Africa, it's not just for Africa, but for most countries, in the developing countries. Africa, you don't find information. And this is not my claim, but this is the United Nations claim. They have acknowledged that data for countries in Africa sometimes is missing. So if you're going to do any policy analysis, you have a missing data, you are in trouble. So that might be one of the recommendations I give now for policymakers to make sure we can work on this. Quickly, I have seen this in a couple of African countries, Middle Eastern countries. In Europe, they are not confused, but here they are confused. We have been going through industrialization, information, and globalization. Some countries, they see themselves as in the information era. We are not. We are in a global. This is the challenges now we're facing are global. Not the really digital revolution is a problem now. I can tell you why. So we need to make sure we understand this correctly when it comes to international cooperation. The other things in Morocco, in other African countries, Arab countries, we should really remind ourselves as policymakers, ministers, director of research, universities, we are addressing global challenges. We are no longer addressing Morocco or Middle East or North African problems. Give you one example, the Ebola virus. It happened in West Africa, but it affected people in America, in Spain, in the UK. That's how we deal with it. Climate change is affecting us. So really, I hope when we are addressing this issue, we have to look at it from a global challenges. Terrorism is one of the top issues worldwide, climate change. Food is a big problem, so we have to look for it from that perspective. At the same time, I want to remind you what Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia University, the person who advised Kofi Annan on the sustainable development, the Millennium Development Goals. He said we talk too much about terrorism, blah, 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 but the main issue really we are facing is sustainable development. Interestingly enough, when this terminology came to the whole world, sustainable development, Arab countries have the major contribution in that report. The vice chair of this report, 1980s, was from Sudan. Algeria was contributing, Saudi Arabia was contributing. So for us, if we look at our situation in the Arab countries, we are at the bottom of the list of the Sustainable Development Goals. And we have no reasons to say we don't know. We knew everything about it because we created it. This is from the UN. The other issue is we need to understand why we are not even collaborating with the things which we created many years ago. I call this, there are many, but these are for me are the golden 10 issues with our research and education, higher education in Africa. I will not go through them in detail because they have been discussed yesterday and today. Missing national research policy and formal linkage. We have problem. Missing information on ongoing research or proposal. We do have this problem. Differing reward system. Every country, even within the same country, the reward system is different. Differing organization structure. Some research centers belong to higher education. And in Sudan, there's a very classic example where the National Research Center is moved 3-4 times to Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology. Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology. It's like a child being played on. So this is happening in all Africa. This is it makes a difference. Another serious issue, universities in Africa and Arab countries. I know we claim to, but we are not. They have been heavily seen as only teaching. They are not contributing to research. I know we do contribute, but on the ground, you find universities heavily involved. I have met lecturers, I teach 500 students in one course in economics and so on. Brain drain is a big issue. Myself and others, I know they will tell me you are a brain drain, we are all brain drain. And so on, a growing issue in Africa. So we just go quickly. This economist from Harvard, and I mentioned this and see him, Russian-born, Australian-trained Harvard economist. So he got quite a good experience. He said, we have to look to countries from a different perspective because each country, how well they have been developing over the last 5, 10, 15 years is different. So our backwardness or forwardness is different, and therefore when we try to cooperate, we have to understand, if I'm cooperating with this country, where is this country? Unfortunately for Africa, it started by, you remember the homeless continent, that was the cover of the Economist, now it changed to, we have a problem with digital divide. Now, the other challenge for Africa when it comes to scientific collaboration, most of African countries are in the least connected countries. It's good, I have seen the Wi-Fi here in Tunisia, in Egypt, but still we have problems in most of Africa. They are not connected, the internet, the infrastructure is still very poor. And for me, as I have always said, any university in Africa should not get a license to operate without having Wi-Fi in every school, every classroom, every room, every place. I think if we can achieve that, it should be part of the higher education tick list. You want to operate as a university, private or public, you should have a Wi-Fi in the university, full stop. If there is no Wi-Fi, you cannot operate in this 21st century because Wi-Fi should be there. Many universities, they don't have Wi-Fi. I know many people, they say, oh, we have it in Morocco. I know you have it, but in many countries, they don't. So quickly, we have a classic issue here. Tony Blair, our former prime minister, he was arguing all the time, education, education, education. And most importantly, at Oxford, he said, no progress in our economy without science. So he believed 100% in science. But if you look to the other quote from a leading African academics, he said, yes, I believe in science and technology, But we talk about science and technology in Africa as if they themselves can solve the problem. So you can see the different, how people see it from different angles. Now, it's become very clear now, universities in the 21st century are good indicators of how we are developing. As you can see here, human history, the wealth or poverty of a nation is really depends on the quality of higher education. And many of my colleagues yesterday talked about the quality. I'm not going to talk about the quality, but really the quality of education or higher education is become an indicator of how we measure the wealth. UK, OECD countries are highly advanced in their wealth and development because of their very good higher education. And that's why in all the ranking mentioned yesterday, they always score high. That's something we have to look at. In this era of globalization, skills and knowledge race, universities cannot fail to realize, accept, and accomplish their national and scribe role as strategic agents for national development. They cannot afford. In Morocco, in Sudan, South Africa, in Saudi Arabia, they cannot afford. That means they have to do it. They have to catch up. Quickly, what is the role of higher education institution in Arab countries or Africa? This is something really need to be discussed. In supporting and enhancing the process of economic and social development, we cannot just have universities. Where are they fitting? Are there any government components to this one? What are the major obstacles? We need to discuss this in a much wider scope. Universities must confront new realities, rapidly manifesting themselves in direct, complex, and fast-changing world. Business as usual will not work for all higher education in Africa. We have to be more sensitive and responsive to the mission of developing graduates who can actually find jobs. One of the highest number of unemployment in many UN reports is in the Arab countries. Bahrain, I met Bahrainis, UAE, Sudan, Jordan, is smart, one of the smartest boys and girls I have met. They were in North Africa or in Africa or in the Middle East. But they are not working, having degree, master, and so on. So we really have to look at this one because we are talking about a knowledge economy. Yesterday, your minister here said everyone now is looking at the knowledge-based economy. We have a tiered curriculum, both content and delivery. This should be real-world problems, embedding academic entrepreneurship, and so on. I need to move to the, why I'm giving you all this background, because it is important when we try to collaborate. If you want to collaborate with someone, you need to understand all this background. Africa's scientific collaboration. Africa's current education environment creates a persuasive case to genuinely pursue inter and intra. I have always argued from 1992, Africans do not collaborate with each other. They can easily collaborate with someone in Sussex, but they do not collaborate with next door. We really need to understand, to analyze, to really do some, if you like, surgery, finding out why we are not really strongly collaborating like we do in Europe. That's one important thing. Also, that doesn't mean we have to stop international collaboration. We have to, but within Africa, why we are not collaborating? Not only in the areas of curricular development, learning and teaching methodology, but also in quality accreditation, like the one you did yesterday, and faculty capacity development. Overall, Africa, or maybe unfortunately also Arab countries, if you take the other statistic, we are underperforming in research. So it's not here about why, but what can we do to make our research grow up. The state of academic research is less than satisfactory. This is a quotation from UN. Many reports from World Bank, they consider our research in Africa is less than satisfactory, not even satisfactory. So this is important. We have a weak absorptive capacity and constraints to widen participation doesn't mean just numbers, but quantity, quality. We have a serious problem with participation of disabled students. This is very critical. The Sustainable Development Goal, part of them is to incorporate disability. We have a serious problem in Africa. We are not really geared, our universities are not geared to incorporate this one. The good thing is we see large number of women or girls born than boys now in many universities, which is good. Let me quickly go. This is a Nobel Prize laureate when he mentioned this in 1970. He said, we can solve the food crisis in the world if we use the technology now available, not the one we will create. And I tell you why this is important for collaboration. Or research to further improve, utilize new technologies. Venture scientists, we need venture scientists who can work across discipline, and that's why the message yesterday about social science or science and technology, we have to work together. sustainable development is a multidisciplinary. We have to work together. Law, engineering, art, social science, we need to work together to produce appropriate technology. What is appropriate for Morocco, not necessarily what is appropriate for us in the UK, who have the courage to make their case with political leaders to bring these advances. So we already have technology in Africa which could solve our African problems. So let's focus on this one, let's cooperate on learning this one. And I will give you quick examples. Why? Because we are meeting the challenge of implementing 2030 agenda is very comprehensive. It's too much task. I'm very glad when I hear from some Nigerian, he said to me, in Nigeria, the government created an office under the president specifically to ensure implementation of SDGs in Nigeria. That's what we need to do. The challenge is very big and we are all poor countries, so we have to work together. Technology transfer, we need to learn what the Egyptians have done, very good, what South African have done, what Sudan have done. We need, because this is also technology transfer. And there's a misconception about technology transfer only happening from developed to developing. We could be teaching the UK, and I have that acknowledgement by a minister in the UK. You know, people in the UK, they can learn knowledge and experience from Africa, and so on. And there was a hospital in one of ours in London. The surgeons, they have been sent to South Africa to learn how to deal with A&E because there are lots of shootings in South Africa at the time, so the surgeons could deal with all these gunshots and so on. Complementary of resources and program and not substitute of international development, successful practices to be replicated. Lessons learned, most African countries face similar challenges such as conflicts. Quickly, foster reuse of intellectual capital. We do have intellectual capital in Morocco, in Saudi Arabia, in South Africa. Let's reuse it. Enable better decision making. These are all knowledge management basic stuff. We have to focus on them. And thirdly, eliminate redundant efforts, avoid repeating past mistakes. We do witness lots of mistakes in the past. Advantage of what others already knew, like in Europe, whatever it is, create conditions for innovation. Now, this is the example. I can give you here. If you look at an institution in Morocco, they might have a knowledge of saying, I also remember I lost 2 minutes. You have to count them for me. You know, like football, you get the time back when there's an Indian. So I was an Indian here. Now, if you look at an institution in an African country, in Morocco, a university, let's assume they got like 10% of whatever that knowledge in that particular discipline. As a country as a whole, maybe they got 20%, but entire Africa, they got 70%. So exactly like you are doing an exam, and you have 10 chapters to do exam, and you only have 1 book. So clearly you will fail. If there are 10 questions, and you only have 1 book for 1 chapter, so there's no way you will pass. This is, I think, one of the key reasons why we should collaborate. Secondly, there's lots of things you will gain as an African from collaborating. Number 1, research and development. Not in Africa, in Europe, in the UK, in OECD countries, the amount of money given to R&D is very small. Even in Europe, we are not even having enough money for R&D. What about Africa? They don't have enough money. We need to bring our small money together in 1 pot. Again, citations. We need to improve citation if we come together, working together in different citations. And also recognition. We can be recognized as doing this. As yesterday, the example given here, most of the research on Islamic studies or Quran is not done within Arab countries, it's done in America or in the UK. So who is recognized in citation? Also the other professor here, very sad, he gave us example about ISIS issues. He said most of the citation are from the West, it should be from here, and so on. And then you have visibility. So this is what I think is obvious. We will get more R&D together, we got more citation, more recognition, and more research funding in the UK or in Europe. They would love to fund projects which are more comprehensive, having Morocco, Sudan, South Africa, because they will see the massive, they would like to maximize the impact. Quickly, some issues about scientific collaboration should be part of organization research strategy. Unfortunately, when you talk to people about scientific collaboration, they consider it as to do with library, online material, or we have access to it. It's not about online material, it's not about libraries. It's about you together, come together. Like this conference, the amount of exchange we have done yesterday on the dinners, on the car, this is the maximum, the interaction. It's not about the proceeding. We will take the proceeding with us. All this is recorded. That's important. So don't see it as an IT or e-learning material we share from this library. The second one is not about repositories you have a database and so on. This is not collaboration. What is really collaboration is people, they are not, or they will not collaborate even if you put all this together. It wouldn't share knowledge unless they have the right audience. Right audience will let them mix together and so on. Now, it's not a software you can buy and fix it. Or there is a system developed by this company. No, it's really more about resolving around institutions, strategy, research process, and technology. You cannot mandate it, but government should facilitate it. There's a difference between a minister facilitating collaboration than he mandating collaboration. If you say to these guys, work together, try to work together, they will create an environment for them to mix, yes, but if you make it as a formal degree, it will not work. So you have to understand this one. Social network is good. I like social media, it's good, but we also have to see it as a tool. It's not going to solve the issue. Now, this is where he was the chair, but I'm sure you remember this. One day, the FB7, which was referred to yesterday by Mark from example from Spain, the European International Cooperation and Scientific Committee, which at that time, so 7 and 8, they tried Europe, why they collaborate to strengthen their competitiveness together. Together they want to be very competitive in the whole world, market-wise, efficiency and so on. That's why they do have partnership with third world countries, because they do affect Europe. That's one thing. In the field of science, addressing a specific problem of a particular country, which say in Nepal or in Sudan or Morocco, that have a global character, like Ebola. Ebola is a specific country for that. I will try to finish quickly. Use STI cooperation to reinforce the community external relations, not just science and technology, but to enhance Europe collaboration in other parts, socially, culturally, and so on. Collaboration in third countries in finding solutions to such problems. There are problems, they continue to be a challenge for Europeans to solve them without us involved with them. Malaria, climate change, environmental, HIV, they cannot solve them. Malaria does exist in Africa, does not exist in Europe. So for people in Europe to find clues for malaria, which is killing millions of us, they have to work with us. That's how they see it. I give you one example, it's a real example, please Google it, it's called the Mycetoma Research Center. This center is in Khartoum in Sudan. This center is number 1 and 2 in the whole world in the research on this subject. This is in Africa, number 1. The WHO, if you go to the WHO website, you will see it. Because they followed all this procedure, international scientific collaboration with Netherlands. They published the paper in the top journals about urology and so on. And it's been led scientifically and it's being done in Sudan. It's now solving problem for the whole world. That's how you see collaboration. This is when we were in Europe. If you put Africa in that part, we need to collaborate continuously to create more ideas. We need to collaborate as individuals, traveling, meeting each other. And we also need to collaborate to build our capacity. If we are very good in this, say, econometrics as Moroccan, let's help those who they don't have strengths on econometrics. So we can do all that. Now, because I'm all of the time.
Thank you very much, because now the time is finished.
Can I give the last policy, just 2 slides on the policy?
No. 23 minutes you have.
Okay, so this is the last important one. Okay, insert, I will do the later one. Now, in terms of policy, quickly, there is a big also issue about international collaboration. You have to be very careful here. I'm not here against collaboration with Europe, but you have to be careful. Most of the international funding coming from Europe or OECD, we are in rush. It's true. We are in Europe. We are rushing to get results. So you have to be very careful with this one. It's true. And secondly, we need to address the context of any research funding. We're not saying because we don't have money, we can just accept anything. This is another issue which is raised by a highly distinguished professor here from Kenya. He said, we don't want people who are offering us funding from outside to tell us what we need in this house. This is your house. You should tell me what you need here. I can't come here and tell you what you really need here in Morocco. You know Morocco better than I do. So we have to work on this one. And lastly, this is a very good example from the UK. If there is any incidents in the United Kingdom where the police killing a citizen, if I'm involved in anything and I'm being killed by the police, accident, whatever, then it will be investigated by this entity.
Please, dear professor, we can't give more time.
Okay, I can stop, no problem.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.